Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole from the 4th District of Oklahoma, and this is another one of our weekly updates on what's happening in Congress. This is actually a short work week for Congress. It came into session Monday. This is Wednesday today. It'll be the last day of the week because, frankly, folks are leaving early to go to the 75th anniversary of D-Day in France. But the week's been mixed, I would say. On the positive note, we finally got disaster relief passed. That's really important to people in over 40 states, including Oklahoma. We've had a great deal of problems with everything from hurricanes to wildfires to tornadoes to flooding all across different parts of the country. I was very disappointed, however, we did not act on the President's request for over $4 billion in additional money to deal with the crisis on the southern border. We're apprehending about 100,000 people a month that are entering the country illegally. We're also responsible for housing literally tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors that have to be taken care of. And frankly, that's well beyond what anybody thought was going to happen or could budget for. So Congress is being very irresponsible, in my view, and not helping the President meet this crisis. And sooner or later, we're going to have to act on that. I was also, frankly, disappointed this week. We brought something called H.R. 6 to the floor. It was to provide legal status to Dreamers and to help folks in the so-called DACA program, Deferred Action Childhood Arrival program. We also help some folks that have what's called temporary protected status. That's people that come to the United States because of disaster situations or political persecution in their own country. We give them a certain amount of time here, and then that's quite often renewed. Those things are not bad in and of themselves, but they need to be coupled with real border security. Frankly, we made it more difficult for our law enforcement officials to use things like crime databases to weed out people that should not be amongst those given legal status. So it turned into a pretty partisan vote, and frankly, it's a piece of legislation that won't pass the Senate and that the President won't sign. And the President's made perfectly clear he's willing to work with people on this, but any real progress in this area has to come with additional protection on the borders. So it's a missed opportunity in my view, and a lot of people are being misled because they're being told this is going to help them, and frankly it won't. It's got to get through both the House, the Senate, and the President's got to sign it. So anything that is designed that it can't achieve those goals, frankly, is in a sense a broken promise to people that we're going to act when in the end of the day we won't. I hope we get past this at some point. In the Appropriations Committee, we actually moved 2 more bills this week. They're relatively non-controversial. That's the bill on transportation and housing and urban development, and then also a bill on agriculture. But even there, again, the spending levels are unrealistic. So I think there's going to have to be a compromise further on down the road, but I think that's achievable. So an interesting week here. Let me just end with a reflection again about D-Day. This is really one of the pivotal moments in, not just American history, but in world history in terms of the landing of Allied forces in Western Europe to confront Nazi Germany. And you can't help but think of the sacrifices that were made by the men who hit those beaches 75 years ago on June 6th. I, for one, am extraordinarily pleased that the world remembers the sacrifice that was made, that there will be, as there is annually, a celebration of that event, a remembrance of those who paid the ultimate price there, probably the last gathering of any significance of those who actually were on the beaches. All these veterans at this point obviously are in their 90s, so there's not going to be here very much longer. It's a wonderful thing that the world pauses for a moment to pay homage to those men and what they accomplished on that beach and what that led to in terms of the eventual liberation of Europe and the destruction of literally the worst fascist state ever to exist, Nazi Germany. So when you're thinking about this tomorrow, just say a prayer for the souls that were lost and the veterans that remain, and remember how lucky we all are that we live in security and freedom thanks to the sacrifices they made.